Are you about to throw the Janoyama quotes at me? Today I feel like I'm ahead of you.
Hold on.
Yeah, you
hold
just
on.
like chill.
Let's first of all say good morning, Waziri. Good to have you here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
The conversations around magical Kenya, and like you saw in our poster, we put a question mark. Magical Kenya, right?
And today we must remove the question mark together.
And put a smiley.
Put a smiley.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
So, good girl Jano Wama quotes, I'm sure you've seen.
Yes.
She's very good with quotes. And she's going to give us one quotable quote from a famous person today. And that person is, she's going to give us a couple of hints.
Right.
And let's see whether we can guess who the person is. But the most important bit is the quote, what the person said.
Absolutely. It's more the quotes than who said it. That one we can all take a guess. We don't even have to answer it right now. But this is the quote. The person who said it she was a civil rights activist, a poet, an author from the US. She really played a huge role in using words to tell the stories of African Americans. Was very good friends with Oprah Winfrey, appeared on her show many times. Yes. And yes, I'll say the quote and see if maybe all of those hints you've seen. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Who said that?
Wow, what a profound quote.
Right?
That we all associate with. I think at every stage of our lives, one day or the other, those words apply to us.
Yeah.
Yes. But tell me who it is.
It's Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou. I love that.
It must have been Maya Angelou.
Yeah, it could only be.
It could only be Maya Angelou.
And it remains one of my favorite quotes. It's such a motivating factor that you can say what you want about me, but I know my truth and I'll rise and I'll keep moving.
Fantastic.
Yes.
It's a good one.
Especially on an early morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good way to start and also a good way to even prime this conversation. That no matter what happens to this country, no matter the ups, the downs, whatever happens, the reason why we are fixing is because we believe still I rise, right? Yeah. Still I rise. Waziri, we have seen, that's what happens in our tourism sector.
Yes.
Sometimes we have numbers rising. Sometimes something happens and our numbers drop. Sometimes COVID happens globally and the entire world shuts down. So our numbers don't just drop, they just disappear. And then still we rise. You released the figures for 2024 recently, which was indicating the performance of the tourism sector.
Yeah.
Just off the top, did our numbers increase in 2024 compared to the previous years?
Yes, thank you, Lati, for that question. Last week on Tuesday in Mombasa, together with the stakeholders, we released 2 reports, the tourism sector performance report and also our sustainability and climate change report. The numbers were very encouraging because they were better than 2023, and not only better than 2023, but the best we have ever had. Numbers that are better than pre-COVID, which means there is a very good recovery in the tourism sector. But the top line is that international arrivals rose from 2 million to 2.4 million. And then for domestic, we increased domestic tourism to 5.1 million, which is up from about 3 million. And the bed nights, the total bed nights increased from about 8.6 million to 10 million. In terms of earnings, we increased from 377 billion to 452.2 billion. So you see, everything was an upsurge. And even from our destinations, we saw our best destination or highest destination remains the USA, followed by Uganda, Tanzania, and others. But everything was on an upsurge. The MICE, that is meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, were also up. Cruise tourism And that is very, very encouraging.
Right. The numbers, was it 2024, 5.1 million out of 7.5 were local?
Right.
Thereabout?
Yes.
There still seems to be a bit of a target on increasing international visitors, which we understand is important.
Yes.
But is there any sort of way that we can also promote local tourism? How much effort has been put into that, given that local tourism is also on the rise?
You know, local tourism is very, very critical, and this was proven by COVID.
Yeah.
During COVID, international arrivals were almost at zero, and the sector depended a lot on local tourism. And that's when actually the government and the sector realized local tourism is critical. And therefore, the increase we have seen is testament to the fact that as a government, we are also focusing on promoting domestic tourism. And by the way, those numbers, 5.1, that is only bed nights. It does not include people who spend their time in unlicensed hotels, homestays. We also have day tours. Especially I have seen people who wake up very early, tour the whole day. So you can see those numbers are quite conservative. So what we are doing to promote local tourism is to ensure that there is information enough on what offerings there are in our countries. That's why we recently launched or relaunched the 9 circuits based on various regions, the coast. We have the mountain area, the west, the north, and even the Greater Rift Valley, Nairobi, so that we can map out all the tourism offerings and facilities that are available in the area, what there is to offer, so that Kenyans can then know, where can I go? What will I get? So, and we're also coming up with new products. We recently launched the mountain trails, and we are having about 5 series this year. We started from Laikipia all the way to Nandi, and that is taking quite a lot of prominence. And many other products.
Yeah, but I hope that also
wellness.
Yeah, I hope that also means accessibility to the parks. I think we saw an issue this year.
Yes.
How are we fixing that? What happened there, and how do we make sure that even accessing parks is easy?
Accessing the parks first in terms of infrastructure. We are repairing the roads and even opening up some where we don't have. And so in terms of infrastructure, we are doing the best we can. The issue maybe you had seen is about e-citizen.
Yep.
And we have made significant strides. We have improved e-citizen by shortening the process. Earlier on, you had to go in, you register, you asked questions, and it used to take about 11 minutes. Currently, we have reduced the processes to 2 minutes. Just like the way you would go online and you want to purchase something, we are also taking care of our international visitors by having PDQ machines. We have also made sure that we have connectivity in terms of Wi-Fi and all these things that we are doing. The next level is to have the wallet system where you can then purchase what you want in advance. By the time you go to the park, you just have to show evidence that you have purchased. And so the Kenya Wildlife Service is sparing no efforts. We cannot afford to have people who are willing to access the parks, who are bringing in revenue, who have also paid all the way to come and see their animals, then they get hitches at the entry.
Very true.
That I don't think is magical in a magical country. So we have to remove all these barriers.
Right.
Yes.
I know the technical hitches were one, but there was also the issue of cost with park fee increases. There was proposals for the Masai Mara, for example, and you'd see a lot of people saying, you know what, we have the same animals are found.
Simba ni Simba.
Yeah, Simba ni Simba. They're found in Tanzania as well. But even park fee increases in general, and for museums as well. How does, that, I feel like that locks out a significant chunk of local tourists and international as well.
That question is very important, and I'm very happy you have asked it, because I have to clarify that we have various parks in this country. First, the national parks, 28 of them that are managed by the Kenya Wildlife Service. Then we have the national reserves by the county governments. We also have conservancies, private, community, and all that. So we have 3 categories. Under the national parks that are managed by government through KWS, park fees have not been increased for 15 years, even as we discussed today. For example, to access Nairobi National Park as a citizen, you pay 430 shillings for a whole day. And if you're international, $43. And what that offers is so much, you can imagine. And the cost of conservation, managing the animals, the roads has gone up. And so there is a case that probably we should review those costs, just like any other costs that have been reviewed in the country. Even for Masai Mara, which is under the Narok County, because it is a reserve, the costs had not, or the fees had not been reviewed for a long time. It's only in 2024, January, that a stakeholder engagement and participation started, and the rates were increased from 100 to 200, and we have various fee structure. We have now received feedback from our visitors, the users of the reserve, and we are discussing with the Narok County. But one of the biggest questions that has arisen, if you're a visitor who has arrived in Nairobi, drive all the way to Masai Mara, you arrive at 1, and the park is closing at 6, should you be charged the whole fee? So that's the kind of feedback we are getting. And if you compare with other parks, I can tell you that the park, in my view, the fees we have are commensurate with the service that is offered. We have seen in some of the conservancies, entry is way above 2,000, but because of the value for money, the visitors' categorization, they are willing to pay. So in summary, it is a conversation to resolve the concerns that are being raised, but also to balance the cost of managing those reserves and the parks, so that you do not neglect the management and conservation of those areas at the expense of having tourists. And we want everyone to get value for money. Yes.
Now, at the ministerial level, you offer policy and guidance on matters of tourism and wildlife conservation across the board.
Yes.
So are you having conversations with county governments that manage the reserves, like Narok and others? Are you having conversations with conservancies that also are playing the same role? Because in the end, a conservancy does not own the giraffe. The giraffe is owned by the people of Kenya, right? In trust. Yeah. So how do you balance to make sure that you do not have such a huge variance in access fee and even in access to these areas?
Yeah, it is true that at the ministry level, we are in charge of policy, regulations, legislation at the highest level, and we have to ensure that those policies support the programs that the country has set and that it well serves the people of Kenya. I want to confirm And it is true that all these tourist attractions are found in counties. And therefore, we must partner very closely and collaborate with the counties so that we have proper synergies. We can package the items together. We have discussions with counties, various counties discussing even the tourism strategies in their counties. Tomorrow, I'm meeting the committee at COG that deals with tourism to even discuss further how we are going to cooperate and collaborate and promote tourism going forward. Domestic tourism is a devolved function under the Constitution, and therefore we must, and we have no choice, we must work together for success. Yeah. And for conservancies, it is true that animals belong, it's a national heritage of this country, and the government, through Kenya Wildlife Service, is mandated to take care of all the animals. And therefore, even when you have conservancies, when you have reserves, wherever there is an animal, the government has a stake because it's a constitutional mandate. And we are discussing with them also on how to partner, including in many issues that arise in wildlife conservation, benchmark against each other, make sure we have streamlined policies, all to the benefit of the people of Kenya.
I'm looking at this number of domestic tourists. Yes, it's risen from 3 million domestic tourists to 5.1 million, which is more than the 2.4 million international tourists that we had last year. And much as I understand, we are talking about here, we are measuring those that have gone and booked, and the hotels then are reporting. I am concerned about the awareness that is made by institutions under your ministry on what we have in this country as heritage, as places that we can visit, okay? I think about places where you go and there's a story. There's a place near Machakos where there's gravity pulls upwards, just here in Moore Hills, not far. How much awareness do we have from the Kenya Tourism Board and the others on creating that? If you watch NTV, there's a show called Twende, where Jora goes to places and you're wondering, oh my goodness, this is such a beautiful, beautiful place to visit. And we just hear, oh, ministry has launched circuits and mountain trails. But it sounds to me that ministry and the Kenya Tourism Board are just targeting the international tourist, not the Kenyan tourist who just wants, even the Kenyan tourist, we don't have to go and see zebras. We have seen them, we grew up with them. But what else can I see in this country of mine? What rivers and waterfalls and museums and places can I just visit in this country and appreciate my country?
Thank you. Like you have said, the Kenya Tourism Board is mandated with the marketing and promotion of Kenya and promotion of tourism. And that includes domestic tourism. If you look at the activities and the strategies of Kenya Tourism Board, you will see a lot of activities in promoting the local tourism. There is a lot of hidden gems that Kenyans do not know, and we've done quite a lot. Just the other day, we had a photography competition. We invited Kenyans towards the end of the year to just send the best of their home or the best of wherever they are. The entries were like over 3,800. We subjected it to a vote. 10,000 Kenyans participated. And just looking at those amazing photographs showcasing our country, we have culture, we have, especially if you look at some of the natural resources we have, the waterfalls that we have in the Aberdares, if you look at what we have in Lamu, if each county is so well endowed with tourism facilities, with tourism offerings. And Latif, we are working on a portal or a technology where all these things will be put together and you can be able to see what each county offers. We are currently putting together what has been mapped. It will show where it is. There will be GIS coordinates and details. It will show how you can access it by road, by air, by walking, what facilities and amenities are available. And we are sparing no effort to ensure that domestic tourism thrives. And it can only thrive if Kenyans know what is where and what is available in different counties and in different areas.
When will this portal be ready?
We have done, the portal is there. So now we just want to feed the data. And by 30th of June or by end of June.
That's a long time. I mean, KTB has been in office, in operation for years.
Yes.
People at the ministry have been there for years. Kenyans have been in Kenya since they were born.
Yes.
We know, people know what is attractive and they can share. If you go to social media, you will find people who are just, they are enthusiasts on waterfalls, others on tall trees, others.
Yes.
I mean, this is publicly available information.
I agree. It is publicly available. By the way, it is there. What we are doing is taking it to another level, where if you log in, it is curated for you. It will tell you the actual distance from where you are to that place. So we are just making it better using technology, using GIS. We all know where is what, but it is not customized technologically to international standards to make it just easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is that perfection that we are.
I know we're going into a break. I was going to, because I wanted with 7:30 already.
Yes.
And just on what Latif said, just to talk about how you're collaborating, or where the collaboration is with creators, because they're the ones, people are seeing Kenya through the eyes of TikTokers and people on Instagram. But we do have to take a short break because it's 7:30, and we'll come back on Fixing the Nation and have a conversation about magical Kenya. What can we do to enhance its magic? What are you doing where you are? I can already see some questions coming in. We'll also try and get to those. This is Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time. We're back soon. No excuse whatsoever. Some feedback coming in as we continue our conversation this morning on tourism, wildlife, and whether we are still in magical Kenya and what we can do to just enhance the magic of it. In studio, we still have Rebecca Miano, Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife. Some of your comments, Dula is asking, could you ask Waziri what the ministry is doing to empower conservation initiatives in Kenya that are government-led through Wildlife Research Institute or KWS? NGOs are too dormant. My prince, this one is quite, I don't know who this is directed to, but he's interested in starting a commercial ostrich and falcon farms. Does he need a license? If he does, how much is it? So yes, those are just some of the questions coming in. Jimmy Gakakio has asked, in Kenya, do you need a license to have rats in the house? Gosh, people on YouTube go into their own conversations. But yes, we will try and obviously ask some of these questions to Waziri. And just before, Mariam goes into the happy accidents, I was just reflecting. My career started on a travel show in 2007, going around the country every single weekend for out and about. And that's the time, to Lachi's point, that I would say, how is this in Kenya? How did I know about this? Did not know about this in Kakamega, in Kisumu, in Kitale? Even doing something like looking at the Kapenguria 6 cells. You know what I mean? That's history. And that's underreported. It's not talked about enough. There were so many gems, too many to count. And I remember just saying, how do people not know about this? I think we tried our best during the show. That was another time, though. But there's new ways, I think, for people to find out about what Kenya has to offer.
On the TikToks, we were just saying during the break, when you're traveling now, you don't search, you don't Google or look for a travel agent, especially for a lot of young people. You go on TikTok and you search things to do in Diani, and you will curate your itinerary from there. Things to do in Nairobi, best restaurants to eat, best national park in Kenya, etc. And then you look at other people and you work from there. But we're also talking with Waziri and saying, there's a feeling like the word happy accident was taught to me by James Wakabi, who's a sports journalist of ours here. And he said with sports, it's happy accidents because people are talented and then they kind of in their own corner, they're trying their hardest and they push and then they do something great. But from a structural perspective, there's really nothing, pushing. There's no concerted effort to push our sports. And sometimes with our tourism, it feels the same. We have a magical country, beautiful, hidden gems, of course, the parks, the wonders, everything. But it doesn't feel like there is that concerted effort to push beyond like an ad here or, some placement there. What are we doing? Because I look at other countries, I'm like, hey, I didn't know, for example, the reason why Thai food is a thing is because they spent time and money to send chefs out into other countries to make Thai cuisine a thing. So you start eating Thai food, and be like, why are we eating Thai? But you're eating it. You're like, okay, maybe I can go to Thailand. Are we thinking that big as far as our tourism is concerned?
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm happy that the Creator endowed Kenya more than many, many other countries. If you look at the weather we have, it makes Kenya an all-season destination. From January to December, you will be able to go to Kenya. But above all, Kenya has very unique things. We have Mount Kenya, and on the other side, Mount Kilimanjaro, part of it, you can even enjoy the sides of Loitoktok. We are the source of River Nile. We have wildlife. We have our national parks, the big five. I've learned we have the small five. We have the shy five, and everything that goes with animals. Kenya is the only country in the world with a city that has a national park. It is not found anywhere in the world. It is a home of champions in terms of sports. We have rich culture, so diverse that you can if you are an international visitor, you can actually come back to Kenya every month and experience different culture. We are now doing agritourism. We have people in the world who've never experienced where a cup of tea comes from. And so the journey from the farm all the way to a cup of tea to the table is becoming very captivating. We are having adventure. And the other addition that we are promoting is wellness. Kenya as a wellness savanna. If you do your wellness in the wild, in the savannah, it is becoming a very good destination. And this administration, if you look at the manifesto in terms of tourism, it recognizes the critical nature of tourism in growing the economy, growing employment, and also foreign exchange earnings. It also talks about diversifying tourism products. And that's why we are putting all this effort to diversify our offerings so that it is not only the beaches and the safaris, so that we have many, many more, like we have agreed that this country is very well endowed. The manifesto also talks about diversifying our source markets so that we don't rely only on the traditional countries. We are diversifying into emerging markets. We have seen Czech Republic having many tourists, Poland, countries like Australia, and I was there a few weeks ago and realized that 11 million high-spending Australians left their country for tourism. 25,000 managed to come to Kenya. But how do we tap into that huge number? So we are also diversifying source markets. The other thing that the manifesto provides about is to promote affordable ecotourism amenities. And we are working towards accrediting even the smaller hotels, the ones that will even give ourselves and the domestic tourism the momentum so that everybody can afford accommodation. And I'm very, very glad at the strides that this administration is making in terms of tourism. Cruise tourism is making a significant recovery. Pre-COVID, especially in the 2000s, cruise tourism was picking up. It was affected by piracy concerns, and then COVID came, and it did not do well. But we are having a recovery. In January, we received 2 ships in total with 1,000 people. But you saw on Sunday, we received the biggest cruise ship in over 20 years. And I would like to tell you about that cruise ship because it is important. It was one of the biggest to ever dock. The dream of any seaport is to have such a cruise ship. To be honest, that cruise ship is about the size of Sarit Center. It has streets, it has shopping malls, it has casinos, it has movie theaters. And maybe to put it to perspective, it consumes 40 megawatts of power. That's like a small city. If you look at the electricity consumption.
The Kenya power in you, Kenyan has come back in you.
At times you weigh the size of things by the power they consume. And that is so significant. And I'm very grateful that His Excellency, in the busy schedule, found time to come and receive this cruise ship. It was significant for us, for the tourism sector and the stakeholders and the visitors, but it sent a message that Kenya is open to cruise tourism. Cruise tourism is quite high-end. It brings huge numbers. And if Kenya recovers in cruise tourism, our targets will be achieved just like this. And so it was very significant
docking.
Yes.
The thing, though, even as we work on all this, is there are people who feel that we do so well on one hand, and then we sabotage ourselves with the other hand. The arrival experience in many of our ports, now especially the airport, has been an issue of concern. We have seen not one, not 2 visits by your counterparts in the security docket and transport docket going to airports because people are complaining about how they are treated as they arrive, whether it's domestic Kenyans coming back home or visitors to Kenya. What's your ministry doing to make sure that visitors to Kenya start that feeling of magical Kenya before they land?
Yes, the airport and the points of entries are the first impression of a country. There has been various concerns about the customer experience, specifically at JKIA. In a cabinet meeting that was held in Kakamega, this received the highest attention because if you went to social media, if you talked to tourists, there were quite a lot of concerns. And a committee was formed, the CS for transport, the CS for interior, treasury, and the CS for tourism. We were given, His Excellency, the President, gave us 7 days to just sort out what these issues are and come up with a plan. And we did work on it. We issued a statement with specific activities that will be undertaken, including minimizing the inconveniences of opening all the bags, yet we have scanners. It was agreed only bags that have been scanned at the back and there could be concerns, those are the ones that will be open. We also agreed anyone working at the airport will have a proper name tag, uniform, and then there is a customer charter because the airport is multi-sectoral. You will find security, you will find cafes, and everyone doing their work one way or the other. So we are putting that together. And Latif, I want to tell you, for the last 3 weeks, even if you check social media and feedback, there is improvement. We are working with the Ministry of Transport and all the relevant parties to check every day, including KRA and everyone. I must say that we are working on it. I can confidently tell you, because I check, I listen, we do entry and exit interviews with the visitors. There is significant improvement, but it will not stop until we resolve all the issues, and then it becomes the norm that when you get to Kenya, your entry customer experience is top-notch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know we need to get into a very critical element around human-wildlife conflict, but just speaking to what you're saying, you know, there was a committee formed. The ministry is working on a new tourism and amendments to the Tourism Act. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. What are the goals for this new regulatory framework, and when can we expect it to be released?
Yes, we are working on a new tourism policy, strategy, and a new bill. This is to streamline the tourism sector to be in line with the modern trends. The act that we have was enacted in the year 2011. A lot has happened, and we need to have policies that really support the sector. We see the emergence of technology. We have seen a lot of economic changes that we need to input. And we had public participation over the last 2 weeks, and that is ongoing. We do hope to submit the new bill to Parliament for processing so that we can have a new act. And I'm very happy for the public participation. We received overwhelming suggestions that were significant. We have seen partners, we have seen the private sector, we have seen the young people, everyone taking a keen interest on tourism and just giving us all those suggestions. So we'll ensure it is consultative, and we have tapped into all these beautiful ideas that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's not going to the human-wildlife conflict bit, there's places in this country you'll go and people will tell you the life of that zebra is more important than mine. It's true, right? It's more valuable than mine. Especially people who live close to conservancies, etc. They'll say those animals are more important than mine. My cattle come second to their cattle. My needs come second to the needs of the animals. And communities as well often don't feel like they benefit, especially when they are around big tourist areas. And it's like, okay, I'm next to a conservancy, next to a reserve, but of what benefit is it to me? Maybe I can sell 1 or 2 things to the tourists at the gate, but that's as far as it goes. As far as development, I'm not really getting anything. And then that escalates to now human-wildlife conflict. What is the ministry doing to make sure that human-wildlife conflict is not an issue going forward with our tourism? And not only that we don't have conflict, I think, or it's reduced to a minimum, but that the communities are benefiting meaningfully from tourism in their areas.
Let me anchor these discussions again on the manifesto, because it is the foundational document for the administration. It prioritizes wildlife conservation because our wildlife is our national heritage. Eventually, it contributes to the assets and the balance sheet of this country and so on. But then the manifesto prioritizes community welfare also, so that it is not wildlife conservation that is more important than the human activities. And I like it because in no uncertain terms, His Excellency the President has told us, in whatever you do, how does it affect the people of Kenya? How does it affect communities? And that has become our culture, our habit, and our thought process. And so wildlife conservation is quite significant, and it is incumbent on all of us to make sure that we conserve the wildlife. We are also aware of human-wildlife conflict. And when you have human-wildlife conflict, you find communities are disappointed, the communities are affected. In fact, they feel like those animals are then a nuisance. So what are our strategies? First is to prioritize activities that will enhance proper human-wildlife coexistence, and we minimize the conflicts. Those conflicts actually a competition for water, a competition for space, and a competition for food or fodder. This country, at one time, I think there were only maybe 5 million people, 20 million. Now we've grown to over 55 million. The land is not increasing, so the space is shrinking for sharing between wildlife and human beings. And we must then prioritize activities that will minimize the conflicts. We are taking all efforts to ensure that animals stay in their territory. We have prioritized construction of fences in various critical parks so that animals remain in their territories and they do not go to affect the human beings. So that is one. We're also working on providing water for both animals and the people who coexist with the animals so that we minimize that. And also ensuring enough economic empowerment for communities. That is the way to go, so that there is no need of going to look for whatever you need in an area that is for animals. And the manifesto, again, talks about wildlife economy. We must work on wildlife economy so that communities and the people of Kenya can see the benefit. And that there was a question about licensing of somebody who wants to farm ostrich. That is allowed. You just get in touch with KWS or their website and see the process. A few weeks back, we did present a cabinet brief and a cabinet memorandum having various proposals on how to promote the wildlife economy, including bioprospecting, licensing for crocodiles, and all those activities. Because if it doesn't become a meaningful economy, it then discourages proper coexistence.
Yep.
But I'm happy that this has been embraced very well. And I have realized the affection between the people of Kenya and realizing that this is a heritage that is critical for this country. And we continue to even have awareness. And I do hope that we will be able to manage all this.
Waziri,
Yes.
people have had no problems with wildlife
Yes.
for years
Yes.
in this country. The conflict comes when the wildlife now starts being owned, and then you're told that, keep off,
Yeah.
either by KWS officers who tell you, you cannot do this. And I'm happy that you said that there's a cabinet member that says, if I would like to rear crocodiles, there's a way I can rear crocodiles and also participate in ostrich farming and all.
Yes.
Is there a hotline, and that's one of the questions that's coming, for anybody who has an issue with where there's conflict between human and wildlife? Is there a hotline where people can call immediately and say, now there's a herd of elephants that's raiding our farms, or there are lions that are encroaching into our territory, and so on and so forth? And secondly, when the conflict occurs and there's injury or death, how is our compensation?
Yes, so we have KWS in most parts of the country, and we have rangers who are there, we have the numbers, and we encourage everyone who has a concern about wildlife to call KWS. I'm particularly pleased that in December, we had a pass out for 1,274 rangers, and this was after 10 years break. We hadn't increased. And we can say then now KWS have enough rangers, enough human capacity. We also increased about 99 vehicles. The other day, we also sorted out the weapons they require and the tools of work. KWS now is well resourced by the government, and there is no reason why there should not be rapid response whenever called upon. But when an injury occurs or there is destruction of property and crops, the process is that we have county wildlife compensation committees, so that after you report the incident, the committees will then meet and process. When this government took over, we had a pending bill of compensations of 15 billion shillings and claims ranging all the way from the year 2014. Significant steps have been made because His Excellency the President has prioritized compensation. And in the year 2022-2023, funds were availed to the tune of 900 million, and also 2023-2024. And 2024-2025, we have in the budget a significant amount for the compensation. We have cleared part of the backlog up to now 2021. We continue to look for funds, including looking at the partners and everyone who plays in that space. We also now are having technology, a portal, where all these claims are processed, so that we also reduce time, promote efficiency, remove any fraud that may be in between. But the intention and the end game and the goal is to have these compensations whenever an incident occurs, because incidents will naturally occur, even as we try to minimize them whenever they occur, so that we are up to date in terms of compensation.
How long should it take between lodging of a claim and receipt of compensation?
Historically, it has taken, like I have said, even 5 years.
Yeah.
We want to reduce this to a maximum of 90 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it going to take us to get there? Because you still have a huge backlog of the pending bills.
Yes.
Right? So there are communities that are just feeling like, they were forgotten.
Yes.
And the matter of their compensation is not being addressed.
Yes.
And now, if a new dispute occurs in that community,
yes,
this whole story of 90 days, they will not believe you.
I will tell you, for the last 2 years, I have said
900
million,
million.
yes.
plus another 900. And
1.8.
Last year, the government launched in Rumuruti, presided over by the president, the compensation process that has started. Technology is a big game changer. Previously, all documentation was processed in hard copies. A document you have to photocopy, move it from yourself to Latif, and all that. With technology, that is reducing time significantly. The biggest challenge we have, with a reduced fiscal space and budget, we must come up with innovative ways of resource mobilization. And we have now actually operationalized the Wildlife Trust Fund for the very first time. It was there in the law since 2013, but had never been operationalized. Parliament has approved the regulations that will help in resource mobilization and go towards fulfilling our dream for the 90 days. Because if you have technology and you have raised the funds and the committees at the local level are working, you will not have any excuse not to meet that target for 90 days.
That's true.
Yeah, I know we are coming to wind this up soon. Some feedback on YouTube. Dula is saying we need friendly community liaison teams at KWS to curb human-wildlife conflict. Mukoma Joseph says, can you ask Waziri to clarify on the issue of KWS cadets? It's almost a year since they announced recruitment. So that's just some feedback coming in.
Matter of cadets, there's also a question by Crystal Bells on on Facebook as well. Kindly ask when the KWS successful cadets results are going to be released.
I would say in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the delay been? What's occasion there? Has there been a delay?
Yes, because like I said, we were processing 1,274 rangers. So after they passed out parade, after the pass-out parade, the instructors took a bit of break. Latif, this is real. You have to process your instructors and the facilities. And now that the interviews have been done, the results will be out, and they should be able to report for their training within the month of March. Yeah.
Last week, or no, not last week, this weekend,
Yes.
you are at the airport receiving animals.
Yes.
Coming
Yes.
back to Kenya.
I was going to ask
And I was
about
looking and
that.
wondering. Okay.
Yeah. Very early morning that you were there, I think.
At night.
To receive, it was a late at night,
Oh,
sorry.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, to receive
Yes.
bongos.
Yes.
Tell us about
And
that.
I know there is a blessed coincidence. Early in the morning at dawn,
Yeah.
His Excellency was receiving a huge cruise ship with over 2,000 tourists and 900 crew. At the end of the day, then we were receiving mountain bongos. Mountain bongos were originally only found in Kenya. At independence, some of them were taken to Florida, to the USA, because they were really endangered, poaching disease, and they were facing extinction. So now, through international relations and diplomacy, they have agreed to send us back some of the bongos so that we grow our population. We intend to grow them to 750 in the next 50 years because this is unique and a Kenyan heritage. So we received 17, which are the third generation since the first ones went to the US.
Florida.
Yeah.
Do we currently
Yeah.
have any bongos?
We have a few.
A few.
In the Mount Kenya area. So these ones are now in quarantine, being taken care of, observed, and eventually they'll be released to their natural heritage so that we can grow the bongos.
The numbers.
And it will be a big tourist attraction.
Yes.
Communities will then be able to benefit because more people will come to see the bongos and preserve these for generations to come. There is our generations will be reading that once upon a time
There was
used to
this
be
animal.
mountain bongos.
Any concerns?
And so it was very, very.
Good.
It was so cool, almost emotional when
to
I went to
see them.
receive them.
Yeah.
And it's like welcome back home.
I know.
Karibu
Oh,
And
that's
you
Dubai.
saw
nice.
the cargo vessel
Yes.
all branded, bringing back the mountain bongo.
Yeah, concerns over any other species in Kenya? I know that there's some vulnerable ones, that
Yes.
we followed up on, and what kind of movement has been made towards just conservation in that sense as well?
Yeah, the rhinos. You know, we have the black and the white rhinos, the white southern rhinos. We actually have only 2 in the world that are found in Kenya. And now scientists are looking at how
help
to
them reproduce.
harvest and rebuild the species. So we have quite a number of species, but receiving these species is not the first time. We received chimpanzees from Congo and from Tanzania. So in the international diplomatic world, it is common to exchange species for those who want to grow again their species or increase their numbers. And so we were very happy that this has happened.
Make friends with the Chinese. They have a thing they call panda diplomacy.
Yes.
They send you a panda to
Yes.
to soften the relations.
soften the
Yes.
When
relations
things get
and
tough,
the
they
belly.
take it back.
Yes. Luckily,
There's also the
Kenya has-
issue.
yeah.
There's also the issue of, now that we're saying come back home,
Yes.
the president said, Kenya is the cradle of mankind, so come back home.
Yes.
So let's ease visa
Yes.
restrictions and coming back home.
Yes.
There was a concern about, so you've removed the visa, but then you've put in the ETA, which also is just taking some ridiculously long time and process of processing. Again, that was lifted. Are we seeing a difference since visa days into ETA days into whatever we have nowadays?
In January 2024, His Excellency pronounced that Kenya is a visa-free country, which was significant, is a big milestone, especially because Kenya is the home of human origin, based on the Turkana boy that signifies the oldest remains of humans that was found in Turkana, and therefore the intention was to ensure that everyone coming to Kenya, they feel like they're coming home. But there was need to balance the entry with security, and that's why the electronic travel authorization was introduced. The ETA is significantly cheaper than a visa and also takes a shorter time. But in implementing, a lot of feedback was received, and you're well aware by the visitors. You could see the debate online, but that did not go unattended. Again, we took the feedback seriously, and when the report by the AU did not rank Kenya very high about the openness, visa openness, we took strides. And first, to reciprocate, all the countries that allowed Kenya to enter visa-free were exempted from the ETA. The ETA has been made multiple entry, so that if you go to Kenya and you go back to your country, you can come back for about 3 months, multi-entry. The period has been reduced. In fact, we also have even instant ETAs. And all these measures have significantly improved the openness. If you check even the social media space, the debate has significantly reduced, or actually I haven't seen much of that. But not only on social media, the exit interviews, the entry interviews indicate that we have solved most of the issues and the inconveniences that we had received in the feedback.
Asante sana. Waziri,
Asante.
we thank you for coming. We've got to let you go. I have a final comment here from Facebook. Says, Madam Miano, we really welcome you to Thogoto Forest. You've heard of that? To come in aid of ecotourism and conservation activities. We really need a fence around this forest. How can you help and support this initiative? There's the community has created a group called the Thogoto Forest Family. And they're looking at how they can, conserve this forest of theirs, and they just need a spot. So
very well noted. I'll make my way to Thogoto Forest.
Yes.
Yes.
Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife, Rebecca Miano, has been our guest. We've been talking about magical Kenya. So now what do you think? We remove the question mark?
Definitely.
What do you think?
Kenya is magical. I don't think there's a question about it.
No doubt, yes.
It's a magical country.
It's a magical country.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done by all of us, concerted effort, but especially by those duty bearers such as yourself and others, to make sure that we preserve and conserve this heritage that we have for future generations, but also let it make sense for us today.
Yes.
As we visit. Asante for joining us.
Thank you very much. Asante sana.